भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। हरे कृष्णा। Today morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5th, Chapter 8. Chapter is entitled The Character of Bharat Maharaj. Text number 29. It's a very long verse and difficult to sing in a particular meter, so I'll just read and then we'll talk about the word-to-word translation. We'll repeat together and then translation and purport will read. Aho kastam bhratso aham atmavan anupathat yad vimukta samasta sangasya vivikta punyaranya sharanyasyatmana atmani sarvesham atmanam bhagavati vasudeve tad anushravana manana sankirtanaradhananu स्मरणम अभियोगेनानुशन्य सकल यामेन कालेन समावेष्टितं समाहितं कृत्स्नयेन मनस्तत्तु पुनर् ममाबुधायारान मृगसुतम अनुपरिसूर्श्रव. Please repeat word to word translation. Aho kshatam. Alas, what a miserable condition of life. Bhratsta, fallen. Aham, I am. Atmavatam, of great devotees who have achieved perfection. Anupathat, from the way of life. Yat, from which. Vimukta samasta sangasya, although having given up the association of my real sons and home. Vivikta, solitary. Punya aranya, of a sacred forest. Sharanyasya, who had taken shelter. Atmavataha, of one who had become perfectly situated on the transcendental platform. Atmani, in the super soul. Sarvesham, of all. Atmanam, living entities. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeve, Lord Vasudev. Tat, of him. Anushravana, constantly hearing. Manana, thinking. Sankirtana, chanting. Aradhana, worshipping. Anusmarana, constantly remembering. Abhiyogena, by absorption in. Asunya, filled. Sakala yamena, in which all the hours. Kalena, by time. Samaveshtitam, fully established. Samahitam, fixed. karsnena, totally, manaha, the mind in such a situation, tat, that mind, tu, but, punaha, again, mama, of me, abuddhasya, a great fool, arat, from a great distance, mrigasutam, the son of a deer, anu, being affected by, parisushrava, fell down. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. In the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj began to lament. What misfortune! I have fallen from the path of the self-realized. I gave up my real sons, wife and home to advance in spiritual life, and I took shelter in a solitary holy place in the forest. I became self-controlled and self-realized, and I engaged constantly in devotional service, hearing, thinking, chanting, worshipping, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. I was successful in my attempts, so much so that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. However, due to my personal foolishness, my mind again became attached, this time to a deer. Now I have obtained the body of a deer, and I have fallen far from my devotional practices. Purport. Due to his stringent execution of devotional service, Maharaj Bharat could remember the activities of his past life and how he was raised to the spiritual platform. Due to his foolishness, he became attached to an insignificant deer and thus fell down and had to accept the body of a deer. This is significant for every devotee. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj and be condemned to accept the type of body that impairs our devotional service. Only the human form is able to execute devotional service. But if we voluntarily give up this for sense gratification, we certainly have to be punished. This punishment is not exactly like that endured by an ordinary materialistic person. By the grace of Supreme Lord, a devotee is punished in such a way that his eagerness to attain the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva is increased. By his intense desire, he returns home in the next lifetime. Devotional service is very completely described here. Tad anushravana manana sankirtanat aradhananu smarana abhiyogena. The constant hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord is recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya dridavrataha. Those who have taken to Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not a single moment is wasted and that not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. By his own actions and by the actions of his devotees, Krishna teaches us how to become cautious in devotional service. Through the medium of Bharat Maharaj, Krishna teaches us that we must be careful in the discharge of devotional service. If we want to keep our minds completely fixed without deviation, we must engage them in devotional service full time. As far as the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are concerned, they have sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. Yet they must take a lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. Eating is not prohibited, but if we eat voraciously, we shall certainly sleep more than required. Sense gratification ensues, and we may be degraded to a lower life form. In that way, our spiritual progress may be checked, at least for the time being. The best course is to take the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami, avyartha kalatvam. We should see that every moment of our lives is utilized for the rendering of devotional service and nothing else. This is the secure position for one wanting to return home back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatadeshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna. This is a very special moments in the life of Bharat Maharaj, which we are reading in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just now Bharat Maharaj has received the body of a deer, and being in this body, by the mercy of the Lord, he is able to remember his past life. And remembering his past life, he is very deeply repenting in his heart. What misfortune! Alas, I have fallen from the position of being self-realized. And Srila Prabhupada, taking this particular feeling of Bharat Maharaj in his beautiful purports, he is making us very, very cautious. He is advising us, rather he is instructing us very seriously to be very cautious in our devotional practices. Prabhupada says, this is significant for every devotee. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj. Jai Shri Shri Krishna Balram, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada says this is very significant for every devotee. Then whoever he is, a very new devotee or a devotee who is there for many, many years in Krishna consciousness, this is significant for everyone. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj. Being Tatastha Shakti, marginal energy of the Lord, there is a tendency in every living entity to misuse his free will or to misuse his position. And we see this is very prominently visible in the materialistic circles. Everyone in this world has experience dealing with some of the government officials in some way or the other. And he has a very bitter experience interacting with them, because the government officials, although they are in a particular position and they are entitled as servants, government servants, they are supposed to serve, but rather than being a servant there in that position, they misuse that position and they become master of that position. And then whoever comes to him, he has to suffer if he doesn't oblige to him to whatever he says. Great trouble. And this kind of mentality of misusing one's position is available everywhere. People say a person is truthful or honest as long as he doesn't have a position. As soon as he gets a position, he forgets what is truthfulness, what is honesty, and he wants to misuse that position for fulfilling his personal agendas. A person is very saintly or very straightforward or truthful in his behavior as long as he doesn't have a position. As soon as position comes, immediately one starts misusing it for fulfilling personal agendas or for personal sense gratification. And such a tendency is there in every living entity because he has been habituated to misuse his position, his free will. So therefore, when we come to devotional service, when we start practicing devotional service, we have not given up this tendency of misuse. We still hold with us this tendency to misuse our position, misuse our free will. And although we have come to the transcendental process of devotional service, we tend to engage in sense gratification. Or most of the times we are engaged in sense gratification, and very few times we are engaged in devotional service. I was listening to one of the videos of Srila Prabhupada visiting to different countries. Very beautiful video is there. So I was seeing that video. In that video, Srila Prabhupada was saying that to this movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I have given this name, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, very thoughtfully. He was conversing with one person, gentleman. So he was mentioning to him that very thoughtfully I have given this name to this organization, Krishna Consciousness, because we want every member of this society to become Krishna conscious. It is one thing to engage in Krishna activities, but it is another thing to be Krishna conscious. It's more easy to be engaged in Krishna activities, but it's very difficult to be Krishna conscious. And this trouble every living entity, every devotee, aspiring devotee faces. Because there are wrong tendencies, there are anarthas within heart. So therefore, every aspiring devotee is facing this difficulty, that it's very easy for him to engage in Krishna activities, but it's very difficult for him to be Krishna conscious while being engaged in Krishna activities. Very, very difficult because of the anarthas, because of the personal agendas or desire for sense gratification. One tends to misuse, one tends to utilize Krishna activities for one's own sense gratification. And therefore, we see that after many years of practices of Krishna consciousness, still we see devotees are struggling very hard. They have great difficulties in their progress of devotional service, because one is not putting endeavor, one is not sufficiently putting endeavor in cultivating Krishna consciousness. Although one is putting lot of endeavor or energy in engaging in Krishna activities, but he has very little time in his life to put energy to be Krishna conscious. Because to be Krishna conscious means one has to be thoughtful. And if one has to be thoughtful, that means one has to be more or less in the mode of goodness. Because this is function of a person, a Brahmana. Brahmana is very, very thoughtful. What he is doing, how he is doing, he is very thoughtful, very conscious. And Srila Prabhupada has designed our process, the process which is given. Not that Srila Prabhupada was the creator of the process, but he is handing down the process which is coming down in a descending way from the Goswamis of Vrindavan. It's coming down. So Prabhupada is giving us that process and telling us how important for us to be very thoughtful in engaging in Krishna activities. We have to be very thoughtful, very conscious while engaging in devotional service. Because by default, the anarthas within our heart, they tend to crop their head up. Like Ravana had so many heads. So whenever required, his heads used to crop up for whatever purposes he wanted to utilize. So the anarthas within our heart, they crop up when we engage in our devotional service. And they want to utilize those engagements in devotional service for one's own sense gratification. Although Srila Prabhupada has taught us that we should engage in devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna, but we forget that we are supposed to act for the pleasure of Krishna. We tend to act for our pleasure. If we are dancing for Krishna, ideally we should be dancing for Krishna, but problem is when we start dancing, we totally forget that I am dancing for Krishna. We become conscious of the devotees around us, and we want to dance in such a way that everyone appreciates us. Oh, you are such a wonderful dancer, or you are so enthusiastic. So we are looking for some appreciation to come, people to recognize me in a special way than any other devotees. When we are engaged in such a wonderful act, dancing for the pleasure of the Lord, Lord becomes so happy when he sees us dancing for him, for his pleasure. But unfortunately, instead of dancing for him, we start dancing for our own sense gratification. This is one example. We can take every small activity in Krishna consciousness and we can see how we do it for ourselves rather than Krishna. Singing, playing mridangam, giving class, worshipping the deity, doing arti, singing. So many activities are there in devotional service, book distribution, or any other. There are so many, n number of activities in devotional service, cooking, serving. Every act is such a wonderful act. Krishna becomes so happy when he sees us engaged in those beautiful activities, which ensures us that slowly, steadily we become servant of Krishna. We get into that consciousness that we are eternally existing for giving pleasure to Krishna. So many wonderful engagements Srila Prabhupada has designed for us. But unfortunately, we just change the purpose altogether. Rather than pleasing Krishna, rather than becoming his servant, we want to please ourselves or we want to become master ourselves. So very unfortunate situation. And that's why Srila Prabhupada in this purport is reminding us that we have to be very cautious, very careful in our devotional practices. We cannot use Krishna's process for ourselves, for our happiness. We cannot do that. Everyone in the materialistic world is acting on this platform. Although Ishavasyam idam sarvam, but they think that everything is for me. Ishvaro aham bhogi. That is their mentality. They think that everything in this world is meant for my enjoyment, my happiness. I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. This consciousness is very much there, deep down in our heart. And therefore, it's very important, Srila Prabhupada is emphatically emphasizing, reminding us that please do not misuse the position. Do not misuse the opportunity which is given to be Krishna conscious. One of the difficulties, we lack intense desire. So therefore, Krishna very mercifully punishes. such a devotee who misuses his free will, misuses his position. Here, Bharat Maharaj, although he was in such a elevated stages of devotional service, very wonderfully practicing, but suddenly one day, deer came in his life and he became attached to him on a material level. And he tends to go down in his practices of devotional service. Here Bharat Maharaj is confessing, he is saying that I was so advanced that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. Such a high platform. Mind to be always engaged in devotional service. Very difficult. Mind is very, very difficult. It just takes a moment for the mind to flicker away, to deviate from devotional service. Just a moment is required. That's it. And it will be just gone miles away from devotional service. Gone miles away from the consciousness of being a servant or a devotee of Krishna. That's the power of this mind, subtle energy of the Lord. Very, very powerful. But Bharat Maharaj is saying that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. Such a situation was Bharat Maharaj having, but he committed a mistake in his practice. He became attached to the deer. Similarly, we see in the life of Kala Krishna Das, he was directly with the Supreme Lord serving, and Lord was accepting very happily all the services. Lord was practically dependent on him for everything. He was carrying the kamandalu, he was carrying the clothes, he was carrying the eatables whatever required. He was carrying whatever Lord was requiring on his journey. Because Lord was always in an ecstatic mood. He was just chanting, dancing, and giving mercy to everyone, whoever comes in his contact. Lord was just engaged, immersed in the mood of compassion and mercy, and distributing love for Krishna for everyone freely, without seeing any qualification. Patra na dekhi. He was not seeing who is qualified, unqualified. He was just going, giving. But suddenly, at one point of time, Kala Krishna Das, he came in touch with the Bhattaharis, the fake sadhus, who had different purpose, although dressed in the sadhu dress. They had different purpose. So he got caught by them, allured by them, and he left association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went away. And what happened? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started searching, where is my servant? He was serving me so nicely, now he has suddenly left. Where is he? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and he saw all the Bhattaris, and there he saw Kala Krishna Das. And then he went and asked, very gentlemanly, he said that all of you are sadhus. I am also sannyasi, traveling mendicant. I am traveling to different places. And I need my servant, because without his help, how can I continue? How can I do my service? So please kindly return back my servant. And then by hearing this request from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Bhattaris became very angry, and they started taking out their weapons, came to their original swarupa of being dacoits or sinful people, and they ran towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to kill Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was amazed to see such a sudden transformation from saintly people to dacoits. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Supreme Lord, who can do anything to the Supreme Lord against his desire. So by the merciful desire of the Lord, the weapons which were there in the hands of Bhattaris, they slipped off from their hands and went into the air, and they turned their direction and started moving back towards the Bhattaharis to chop them, to kill them with the same weapons. And when they saw the weapons are coming towards them, they became very fearful and they started running hither and thither. Everywhere they started to save themselves. And the weapons were going and cutting their hands, legs, like that. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Kala Krishna Das and grabbed him with his shika and pulled him out of that place and brought him back in his service. Although he took him back in his service, but it was temporary phase till the time he reached back to Jagannath Puri. Once he reached back to Jagannath Puri, all the devotees came, Nityananda Prabhu and others came, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he looked at them and he said, you have given me, what kind of servant you have given me? He left my service and ran away to join some other group. So now I have brought him back. Now I don't want to see his face. You take him away. And when Kala Krishna Das heard that, he was very much broken hearted in his heart. He felt that what's the use of my life? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting me from his association, from his service. He is rejecting me. He felt very, very bad in his heart. But all the devotees, they knew what is the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Namo Mahavadanyaya. He is all merciful. Although now he is very angry and upset and is punishing Kala Krishna Das, all the devotees, they said to him that don't worry, we'll still give you some service. Because all the devotees in Navadvip, they're hankering for the news to come of where is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he has done, where he went, what all places he went, what all wonderful pastimes he did. They are very much eager to know all this. So please kindly go to Sachimata, Advaita Acharya and many, many other devotees in Navadvip and speak to them these beautiful pastimes, because you are the only one who was constantly there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know all the pastimes, whatever happened in all throughout South India. So please narrate those pastimes to these devotees and receive their blessings and mercy. And Kala Krishna Das went. So this is Krishna's heart. Although Krishna punishes the living entity, but he doesn't punish like he punishes the materialistic people. When materialistic people commit some sinful activities, they are very heavily punished. But when Krishna punishes his devotees, he punishes them in such a way that their desire for devotional service intensifies. That's the beauty, that's the sweetness of Krishna. This shows how much Krishna loves us, every one of us. Although we commit so many mistakes, although every now and then we misuse our free will, we engage in sinful and sense gratificatory activities so many times throughout the day. But still, Krishna is giving us opportunity. He punishes, no doubt. When we engage in sense gratification, he will punish. There is no doubt. But his punishment is very special. His punishment is such that our desire, intensity of desire for attaining Krishna increases. And this is very beautiful sweetness of Krishna's punishment. And this is what makes the devotees never leave the lotus feet of Krishna. Because they understand that where can we find such a master like Krishna? Very difficult. We know of masters in this world, very dangerous. Masters, they don't have mercy in their heart, they don't have compassion. Although not everyone is like that, there are good people also. But generally, master means he is not very good. But Krishna is not such a master, he is not such a lord. His heart is very, very soft, very loving. Therefore, although Bharat Maharaj is punished here, he has become a deer now. Now this life, how can he practice devotional service? He cannot chant the holy names of the Lord in the body of a deer. He cannot render devotional service like a human being renders devotional service. And animal by nature, he forgets everything. He doesn't remember anything of his past life. But just see, Krishna is so merciful, he has given him the remembrance of his past life, by which he will repent. And his intensity for achieving Krishna multiplies many, many more times. And that's how we see in the future places, we'll see how, although he was a deer, but he was not a conditioned materialistic deer. He was a saintly devotee deer, because he was going and living next to the places where all the sages were living in the hermitages. Although there was no green grass there available, but he was happy eating dry grass. Although green grass was available everywhere else, but he wanted to be in the association of devotees, because he realized that how important is association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada, going ahead in the purport, mentions, yet they must take lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. So Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Nectar of Instruction, the second verse. Atyahara prayasasya prajalpo niyamagraha janasangasya laulyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashati. The 6 principles or 6 ways by which one can destroy one's devotional service. The very first is ati ahar, voracious eating. Prabhupada says, if we voraciously eat, what is the next step? We'll sleep. More than necessary, we will sleep. Therefore, it is important for devotees to eat whatever is required for them, so that even after eating they can be fresh enough to continue to engage in devotional service. Otherwise, if we eat heavily, especially when feasts are there, devotees tend to eat very heavily, because so many nice items are there. Regularly, simple items are there. But Sarang Thakur Prabhu is saying, till neck, devotees eat. So, then how can we engage avyartha kalatvam, this principle, nectar of devotion? Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining that a devotee, he is very careful about how he is engaging his time in devotional service. Avyartha kalatvam. He is very conscious that always I should engage in devotional service. Always I should be serving Krishna. Always I should be serving devotees of Krishna. I should be engaged in devotional service always. Of course, there are different engagements for different ashrams. One who is in brahmacharya ashram, his engagements are different. One who is in a grahastha ashram, his engagements are different. But purpose of every engagement or every occupational duty is, he has to look up, he has to try for, as Bhagavatam says, dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthaya upakalpate narthasya dharme kantasya kamo labhaya hi smrita. He says that dharmasya hi apavargasya. Apavarga, one should be aspiring for spiritual perfection, although he is engaged in his dharma, his occupational activity, engagement. The purpose of engaging in occupational duty is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Varnashrama, the purpose of Varnashrama is Sam Siddhir Hari Toshanam. Hari, Lord Krishna, should be Toshanam, should be pleased. So whoever ashram, whatever ashram we are in, the purpose of the ashram or purpose of the engagement, occupational engagement is, we have to look forward to pleasing Krishna more and more and more. That should be the engagement. That's what Avyartha Kalatvam Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Nectar of Devotion, the instruction of Rupa Goswami. that we should be full time engaged in devotional service. So occupational duty therefore has to be according to scriptures. We cannot imagine our occupational duty. That's not possible. That's not devotional service. Occupational duty should be according to the scriptures. What scriptures are telling, how should a brahmachari engage, how should a grahastha engage, what all different engagements he has. So occupational duty has to be according to the scriptures, according to the instructions of Srila Prabhupada or his representatives. Then it's very easy for us to develop devotional mood. That I am doing this engagement or I am engaged in this particular activity for the pleasure of my spiritual master, for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. I am engaged. So it's very easy for him to cultivate that devotional mood because he is following what is being instructed to him according to the scriptures, according to Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, it becomes very easy for him to advance in spiritual life. So, Janasangha, associating with the materialistic people, we have to be very careful. Ati Ahar, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes in the purport of that verse in the second. Srila Prabhupada writes about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary.